Just check the audio. Really? Dude, what is up with the bots, bruh? It's wild. The bot attack is real. Check. Let's see. There we go. Anybody in the chat? Let's see. Anybody in the chat? Anybody in the chat? Chat. Who's in the chat? 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 What's up, Babu? You the loyal now, Babu. I think we can add you to the VIP list at this point. The VIP/OG list. I think we can formally introduce you to the addition of that list. You're rocking with us pretty consistently at this point. We appreciate it. Appreciate it. Any stocks you looking at this week? Curious. Any stocks you're watching? Let's see. I think everybody else are bots. How do I change? Let's see if I can change you on here to VIP. I think I have to do it on the platform. Let's see. Yeah, I gotta add you on the platform. I'll do that soon. I don't have any good plays picked out this week. Yeah, the only one I'm looking at for like maybe a little short squeeze. It's a high risk, but you can have a pretty tight stop loss. Is Root. So This is a company that's been struggling quite a bit, but they just released earnings, and obviously the market didn't like that, but their RSI is wildly oversold. So RSI on the daily is at 20. So I think it could easily come back up to 30. And then when I was looking at the chart, I don't know how my EMA's up. The 20 EMA, which is something that the stock sometimes likes to come back up and touch. I think around either 550 to around 580 is a range I'm keeping an eye on. I don't know. I haven't decided if I'm going to buy it on the market open tomorrow or not. But this is an interesting one that might get a little short squeeze. Has a really high short float. I think it's like 40% or something. It's pretty crazy high. It's pretty high risk, but that's what I'm looking. They're actually a pretty amazing company. They're just having a lot of issues. I made a video about them today on my YouTube channel, but they're a pretty awesome company, but they're having a lot of struggle, I think, finding profitability, which is, you know, if you can't be a successful business, then it doesn't matter what your technology is. But they do car insurance, but you sign up only through an app. So instead of like going through an agent, kind of like you would at any of the major, like Progressive or something as an example, you sign up to your app, and then you do like a 2-week test on you have like your phone in your car, and it like analyzes your driving, and then based on that they determine if you can be on their platform or not as a driver. And what's really interesting about their network is they don't allow any high-risk drivers on their network, so only like quote-unquote safer drivers or qualified drivers make it on their platform, which means that your premiums are lower. So it's a really interesting concept for a company, and they just started a partnership with Carvana, which is like a buy your car online and they ship it to your house type of thing, to kind of get more people to sign up for their insurance. So they've been struggling as a company, but it's a really interesting company long term. I made a video on them when they were at, when was that? When they were up here at $11. This was one of my better stock calls of all times, I think. And what ended up happening, I said in my video that I made, I said they're going to go to $5. And they went to $5. So that's why I'm considering now they're at $5 if I want to play them or not. I haven't quite made them. Yeah, Carvana blew up this year. They're succeeding, and it's a really good partnership for Root. But I think it's going to take a while for that partnership to really bring value. But it's I think it could be a long-term winner, but I think based on some issues they're having growing as a business and keeping their expenses low, like they're having a really hard time getting people, their customer acquisition cost, which is like CAC, is really high based on when you look at their financials. They have really high expenses on marketing. So that just tells me that they're having a hard time acquiring customers because it's a lot of education, because it's like a brand new, like it's a new way to do car insurance. And so I think a company like Carvana can really help them expand their network pretty significantly if we continue to see Carvana have really good success, because Carvana is basically going to build out a customized platform. Like, so when you go on Carvana and buy a car, you're going to have an option to add Root insurance, and they're going to have, you know, some kind of deal on there for you to get the car insurance right away when you buy a car on Carvana. And so if they see success on that partnership, it's brand new, so you don't really know if it's going to be successful yet, but I think there's a possibility for that partnership to really positively impact revenue for Root and bring down their expenses, which is the place that they have to get out of as a company. But I think they're an interesting company. I'm debating putting like $100 in it right now and just kind of hold it for like 10 years and see what happens. Because if they can see success, this company should be trading at a much higher multiple. It's pretty undervalued based on, I think, their technology. So I'm considering doing that. I did some research on them a few months ago. Oh yeah, I did. Gotcha. I was thinking DraftKings would be a good play. Yeah, that's a good call. What happened with DraftKings lately? I know something was going on. Looks like people bought up that dip already for maybe football season. Get the daily first. So above 20-day, that's super positive. See if we can see any kind of trend here. Nothing downside wise. It does look like they started a new uptrend. Let's see what the 50-day is. Come on, computer. What are you doing? My computer's being weird. I'm making a post online about DKNG real quick. Anybody else in the stream? Just curious. It says there's 6 people. It might be the bots. If you're in here, let me know. Say something in the chat. I see Jake. Yeah, let's look at. I want to do some more analysis. What's up, Jake? I want to look into. Let me bring up my other window. I want to do some digging on recent news because I feel like they had some recent news or earnings or come out or something like that. Yeah, seriously, Babu. I don't know what happened like 2 weeks ago. Just randomly started getting a bunch of bots. It's the weirdest shit ever. And every stream now, there's like 7 bots. And it just, I don't know, it's super random. It's a strange thing. But yeah, let's look at, I'm looking at these guys a little bit. I know their valuation is pretty silly. 21 billion. And they're a billion dollar company, so 21 times revenue, which is crazy. Yeah, okay, but no work tonight, man. I remember you saying that you had work on Sunday nights. Happy you're able to make it. But I know that's one of the things. Oh, my fault. You're a real one. Thanks, Baboon. Don't tell nobody. That's funny. I'm like, did someone buy us followers? I'm confused what's going on here. I know I haven't done no suspicious activity online. So it looks like they beat revenue, but what's going on here? Revenue up here, but oh, they beat. So that's good growth year over year. But I guess maybe you would have thought that more people were buying this last year because nobody was in the theater, in the stadiums. They might have been betting more, but that's interesting. This miss is really interesting because that makes me think that they're spending a buttload of money on marketing to grow their revenue. But I'm curious. I mean, if you're growing, it don't really matter how much you're spending, though. Honestly. Where's quarter cash flow? Yeah, the only issue that bugs me with DraftKings is the valuation. I think that's my only issue, but we're in a stock with overvalued company, so it doesn't really, I don't know how much that really matters, honestly. It will eventually, but right now it doesn't. Where's their expenses breakdown? I'm confused. It's been a while since I took a class. I bought in at 58. I think it's pushing back up there, ain't it? 53, yeah. And we were just looking at the chart. I'll look back at the chart in a second, but it did look it was in an up phase in terms of movement. So that could be. You know what? Let's go here. Let's look at DraftKings on this site. Oh, CRISPR, yeah. Yeah, I think Kathy Wood was buying up a bunch more of CRISPR, if I remember. I think I saw that last week or the week before. We'll take a look at that too, Babu. Let's see what people are how the analysts are expecting them to grow. They have pretty ambitious growth this year. That's a big Q4. ASMR? What do you mean ASMR? What's up, Charge, by the way? Thanks for hopping by today. Am I quiet in the mic or something? Let me know if my mic's too quiet. I'll put it closer to my mouth. What's their forward PE? I'm curious. Oh, just kidding. Gotcha. Forward PE. Negative 22. What the hell? This thing is not right. But we'll just look at the technical charts. I'm not going to do that right now. I mean, it did look like it just broke out of a downtrend, which is a positive. Had like a little downtrend here. It broke out. It's above the 50 EMA and the 20 EMA, which is bullish. And it looked like, actually, it came up. You know, it bounced off this trend line, so now we have a confirmed trend line. It kind of tried, and it got close to the 50-day and then moved back up, so that's pretty bullish. Let's see where the 100-day is. Oh, it bounced off the 100-day. That's what it bounced off of. I'm assuming the 200-day is down below. Gotcha. Okay. The EMAs are looking a little healthier now. They're starting to stack in the right order, which is what we like to see. MACD went positive. That's a positive scene, a positive note. RSI is back above 50. There's a lot of big picture trends that are looking good. You know, it kind of bounced off that, broke above, bounced off that range and confirmed higher. So that's a good sign. We'll see if there's some good, I mean, it's a good find. There, it looks like there's some good positive momentum here. So I definitely think it's something to keep an eye on. Let's see where some resistance is coming up. Coming up to pretty significant resistance. 56 is going to be a big deal, it looks like. Yeah, 56 is a really big deal. And then from there, I mean, it looks like you have a bit of room after it breaks above that. You might get some pretty, like, I guess, 56 to 58 looks like the range that it really needs to break above. Coming up next. But if it can, you know, 64 is on the horizon if it can break through this zone next. But, I mean, we had this trend line. It bounced off the trend line here. You know, back from this trend line. So that's a positive. Bounced off the 100-day. Went back above. The EMAs are lining up correctly. We have the 50-day. I think the 50-day still needs to hit some positive momentum to get above the 100-day. So that's the only big picture fix we want to see. We want to see the 50-day start curling up and move above the 100-day, and then that's a really healthy chart structure correction, which would be really positive for the stock. In the big picture, let's dive a little shorter term. Yeah, I guess as long as it stays above 51.5 to 52, that seems like a pretty important range to stay above. Yeah, 51 to 51.5. That's like, I think, line in the sand. Because it looks like we're having higher lows right now. So higher, lower, higher high, higher low, higher high. If this does come back, then we want it to stick around here and then go up again. So that's the chart structure I'm going to be looking for on DraftKings. But it's not looking too bad. Let's see where on the 4 hour, where the 100-day is. See if we're above all the EMAs or not. If we're above all the EMAs, up 200-day on the 4 hour, that's where we bounced off of. That's pretty bullish. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take a peek at this. I know the futures are down a little bit right now, but that honestly doesn't mean much. Coming into, it could totally like fix itself by the morning. But yeah, if this holds, say if this holds this range right here, then I might buy. I might buy right here and then put a stop loss, you know, around this trend line around $52. That might be interesting. Because if we can hold there, I think we got, you know, $3 to $6 of upside. That's not bad. You know, I'll take that. If anybody's in the chat and has questions or other stocks, I'm gonna make a list of stocks right now. So if you have a stock you want us to cover, we're doing CRISPR. I don't remember the I don't think I remember what the ticker is, but you said CRISPR. What was the other one, Babu? CRISPR and Intelia. Anybody in the chat have any other stocks they want us to cover? I think we'll move on from DraftKings from here. I'll give you guys a second. There it is. Let me put that up there. CSPR. CRISPR, Intelia. Any other ones, peeps? Any other stocks? NT. Is that the OTC one? The one that turned off the oh, Casper. Gotcha. Did they report earnings this last week? CRISPR, Intelia, Casper, and TLA, I think, which is that Google win. Anybody else in the chat have stocks they want us to cover? It's like, it's hard because there's all these bots in here. I can't call out people because I don't know who they are. Oh, gotcha. Thank you. Let's do that. What's going on here? Why is it so blurry? Not what I wanted. Where's my stock list? Properties. Oh, that's the one. Yeah. No, I think CRISPR is the one that reported earnings. Or Casper. NTLA. Edit. Okay. People have other questions, we will get to those, but let's go to CRISPR. Baba. You can definitely cover Baba too. Shoot, what did you say was that? CPSR. CPSR. Wait, can you put that again in there? What CRISPR is? I don't know why it's not showing up. CISPR. Oh, I put up. There we go. Dun, da, da. Okay. We got it. Thank you, senor. Okie dokie artichokey. You want to just look at the technical side of things? Charge and Babu. If you want to look at the other aspects of things, we can dive into more of the fundamentals and see if... I haven't been following them, so I don't know if they've put out news on anything or anything like that. So I'm not sure on that front. Let me know, though. Nate, you in here today? If you are, you want to post in Stock Twits? Let me know if you're here, too. Or Nate. Let me add Baba. Yeet. Thank you, senor. Okay. Okay, what's going on with this guy? Okay, obviously, I remember this one got all the hype from Kathy. Mama Kathy. I'll call her at this point because people be... Never mind, that's too graphic. People are just follow what she says. Okay, Gappy fill. Hasn't filled technically. I know it has. Okay. So we broke back below the 20-day, but that looks like a little bit impulsive. So we'll have to see what happens next there. That seems like a pretty impulsive move below the 20-day. Doesn't mean anything yet, but that is like, I'll call it like a red flag. The red flag is kind of like, pay attention to this. I'm trying to tell you something. So I want to look out for that 20 EMA to see what that means. If it's just impulsive move lower off of some news or something, or if that means something more substantial. So on the daily, we are seeing some red flags showing, but it doesn't mean anything yet. So we have RSI, or MACD is still positive, but we do have the MACD, the blue line crossing below the orange line, which is showing some negative momentum. As you can see, whenever we see that cross, it's often a lagging indicator, as we can see, but we are seeing that cross, which is like, okay, it's a little bit negative momentum. We see RSI breaking below this zone, which is another like red flag. Let's see what's happening. And then last we have the 20 EMA. So we see it come down, test a 20 EMA, try to break back above, fail, and then break below the 20 EMA. So that's what I'm going to be wanting to keep an eye on to see if we see a reversal this week. There it is. It broke below the 50-day. Let's see what the 100-day is. Okay, all the EMAs are like basically at the same spot. That's probably because we've seen a lot of back and forth, so this is like the average price. So it seems like line in the sand is kind of this 131 to 126. That's the price range that we're going to want to keep an eye on because all the EMAs are sitting in that little zone. Oh, I'm on the 4-hour candle, son of a gun. 4-hour candle still, that's important, but let's actually go to the daily. Because daily's it's longer time frame, so it has a little more impact. So on the daily, we are, again, red flags. We're testing this kind of zone right here, which is the stock saying it's trying to make up its mind. We are above the 200-day. Let's see about the 20. I'm assuming we're right below it, maybe. Yep. So we're right below the 20. The EMAs might be the same on the daily, yeah, pretty close. Yeah, okay. And what about the 50? Same place. Okay. So I'm going to be looking, if we do see some more negative momentum this week, I'm going to be looking for a tag of this 200-day, which is at 123. If we do, let's draw out our trend lines a little bit here. Draw the second one. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna be looking for this zone right here. 200-day, and then we have our momentum trend lines that have been pointing up from this dip back here, and then obviously we have a lot of support as well in terms of support range, kind of between where the 200-day is. I'd say this little 119 to 125 is a pretty important range, I think, for the stock to hold. I think if we don't see it hold that, then it could head lower, you know, to retesting this kind of area right here, which is like 113 to 117. So yeah, this 200-day I would say is pretty important because we're below all the other EMAs. And then we're going to have to see if this continues under 50 or not. CRISPR is, I think, gene editing or something like that. Remind me if that's correct, Babu. They got really popular from Cathie Wood as one of her genome names. I think it's genome. That she's poured some money into. So yeah, they're a really small company. It's in terms of revenue, it's definitely like the potential of it type company. CRSP. It's more of like, yeah, gene editing. It's more of like what they could become, I'm pretty sure. I haven't looked at their finances. Oh, so they do have a decent amount of finances, actually. Here we go. Family of DNA sequencing around genome. So they actually don't look too bad when I look at their vaccine development. Interesting. Do you know why their revenue jumped so drastically, Babu? Because we go from 500K to, that's 100%. No, that's more than 100%. That's almost, is that 100 million? Is that correct? We went from 500K to from 100 to 100 million, which is a pretty big jump in revenue. So I don't know where that jump in revenue came from, but that's what I'm interested in. That. Not a whole lot of news out here in these streets. Let's see what this article talks about. This really wasn't. Not sure. Yeah. $2.5 billion in cash. I know they did a lot of money raising, so they got a lot of money to finance whatever the heck they're doing. But I definitely agree. I definitely think that, like, in the terms of biotech, like, gene editing is like the next step, I think, in evolution of biotech. And there's a lot of stocks doing it. I know CRISPR is one that's got a lot more popular. But gene editing is quickly becoming a big thing in biotech in terms of like the everyday person knowledge of it. And with that means there's more money investing in those stocks, which give those stocks more, institutions buying in. It helps the business grow. So I didn't know they had so much revenue, actually, which is interesting. They have a $10 billion revenue, or market cap, which is pretty substantial. But let's see if I can look at some institutional ownership. See if people are still buying in, because I know they've moved pretty substantially as a company. I think they're up from they're like $2 a share or something back. I guess not too low. They're $40. I guess they're not up terribly. We do have some selling. Interesting. I think it looks like people are starting to take some. Regeneron among the other one has been indicating here. Yeah, next week could break their stock. I agree. I think it's so new. People don't know who's going to be the winner yet. Cathie Wood has even said the same thing. I think she's the main, institutional investor, I guess you'll call her that, who's really talked about gene editing a lot. And I know they have a fund that they just buy basically every single gene editing company, and they just own them all because they know at least a couple of these are going to succeed. Some of them are going to succeed, some of them are going to fail, and she wants to own all of the ones that they think have the best chance of winning. And then, but CRISPR's been the one that has gotten the most love. But this selling is interesting. You know, I don't know why institutions are selling right now. That's always a red flag for me when I see big jumps in selling. And we're not that far into Q3 so far, and to already see half as much selling as last quarter's, you know, question mark in my head. So I would have to do some more diving into this one. Yep, charts, fundamentals, and news. That's the stock talk way. Hopefully we talk about that enough that you guys are approaching with the same strategy. That's the whole point of me. I literally do the same thing on every single weekly stream to tell you guys this is literally my thought process whenever I look at a company. Let's see if we have any news here. Yeah, I'm not. mRNA is so ridiculous, overpriced. It's not even funny. Pfizer, I feel a little safer because they're still run pretty significantly, but I think their business is more than just one drug. So I think COVID's going to be around for the next couple of years, and I think I'd rather put my money in Pfizer than mRNA. But mRNA, you could make more money just based off how crazy they move up and down. Couple of years, try 4 years. Who knows, man? Who knows real long? I just know it's going to be a few years, couple years longer. Yeah, I think they said they're trying to get it. They're trying to get approval for, or they just passed the approval in the U.S. for people who are immune compromised. And I think they said by end of September they're trying to get it passed so that everybody can get a booster, if I remember correctly. So I know they're trying to make moves as quick as possible. Let's see here. What's this say? Encouraging data of when was this news? This is August 14th. Okay, this is recent. Okay, here we go, guys. We're going to get a little lesson in what this is. Gene editing is a technique, alter modified DNA. We know that. Okay, who cares about that? Cumber Spotlight recently encouraging data from the first ever human study assessing from CRISPR. So they did the first ever human study. That's a pretty big deal. This is all kinds of bologna sandwich to me. And accounting for the largest share of 40% in 2020. I'm still trying to figure out why their revenue jumped so much. Earnings per share of... Do I still have their earnings up? I'm curious. Oh, they have a lot of... Oh, yeah. What the hell did they do that made so much revenue last quarter? I'm so confused. Okay, here we go. Let's see. CRISPR total revenue, which comprised of grants and collaboration revenue, coming in at 900 million. Oh, maybe they got some money for making a vaccine. Maybe that's what it was. Interesting. I mean, they did the first human study. I've been keeping my eye on this stock, but I don't know if I'm actually going to be investing in it. But I'm definitely keeping my eye on it. That's for sure. Okay. I think we'll move on to the next stock now. What was the next stock? Oh, this news. Oh, what's up? Welcome to the chat. I don't recognize your name. Oh, they're not going to let me read this article. Seeking Alpha. News reveals fresh safe concerns linked to CRISPR. Okay, let's see if I can refresh it to read it. Gene concerns. Gotcha. I can't read the article because I don't have access to it, but let's see what he says. Do you know how many companies that are currently making... Yeah, bro, there's so many companies. It's ridiculous. But yeah, welcome to the Sun, or welcome to the stream, Sun. I'm just going to call you Sun. Let us know about a little bit more insight on that safety thing. Obviously, gene editing, it's so early, people don't even know, I would say, how possible it is in humans. But let's get to the next stock. NTLA, which I think is an Intellia. And what's Intellia do, Babu? Is it another gene editing? Double strand break. Ooh, yeah, that's not good. I think I'll stay away from that stock. I don't want to have anything to do with a company that could potentially cause cancer. I'll wait. I don't need to be an early adopter. Yeah, gene editing. Exactly. But, yeah, send a screenshot. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. And welcome to the stream. I don't know if you've been here before, but welcome. Oh, also Stony, thanks for the follow. I just recognized that. If you're in the stream here, Stony, appreciate it. I'm assuming you found us from StockTwits. So thanks for that follow, man. Okay. Let's look. And then Babu, what's the this company, Intelia? Okay, Intelia looks like it's trying to go sideways here a little bit. We'll see if it can hold this breakout. It failed. Basically double topped, essentially, which is not a great sign. Some people might like to call us a cup and handle, maybe, if you're really stretching. It could also be a reverse. Oh, genetics. It could also be a kind of a reverse head and shoulders a little bit. So I think it's going to be important to see what happens here. If it can hold this price range right here, you know, it could definitely break out back to the upside. And if that's the case, typically what people say is the depth of the cup or the head, regarding whatever technical indicator you're using here, it should move up that height. So 173, so is it $40? So if it holds this price range and it breaks back above here, it could move $40 higher. So whatever that would be, it can move back up to here, essentially the top of this candle, in theory. It is a train. I live by a train. I was curious if you're gonna be able to hear that or not. That's funny. That's funny. That made me laugh. Thanks for the laugh, man. That was funny. Yeah, they blew up. But yeah, that's what I would say on this stock. See if it can hold this price range. If it can, and it holds this trend line, and it breaks above, it can move $40. But if it doesn't hold this 20-day EMA, then what's a little concerning here is the 50-day and the 20-day are pretty far apart. They're not too far, I guess. But the 50-day is right at this breakout point. And if it breaks below this, then, I mean, that's dangerous. That's dangerous territory if we get some more negativity there. But, yeah, I think we're in a pretty important decision time right here. In the next, how many days out is that? In the next week and a half, we're going to know which way the stock wants to break out. It's going to make a decision pretty drastically one way or the other. Because we either go back to 130 or we go up to 200. Or sideways. That can always happen too. But that's more unlikely with this stock based on how violently it moves. But yeah, that's what I would say on that one. You can look at some... and if anybody in the chat has any other stocks you want to look at, please say it in the chat so I can write it down so I don't forget. Interesting. Somebody's taken some big boy profit on NTLA, which is interesting. So article screenshot. I was referring to Christopher that caused short sell attack. Thanks for putting that in there, man. Yeah, I saw the notes that you put on there. Let me I don't think, oh, it will come up. New study sheds light on potential new safety concerns. Recent study has flagged safety concern potential to hurt the drug development. Yep, that's a big deal. Let's see. Potential to cause cancer. Not, that's a big deal. Double strand break. While most of the affected cells are not viable, the cells still remain and can generate cancer-causing proteins. So it's like the potential, I think, to cause that. Didn't actually cause it, but it has a potential, it looks like, to cause it, which is a big deal. Good question, Charge. So really when it comes to technical analysis, it's kind of a funny concept, but it only works because everybody else uses it. And as long as everybody else uses it, it becomes a thing. That's like everything in the world, you know? If somebody pays $5 for a piece of pizza, everyone else is going to pay for $5 for a piece of pizza. Same thing here. Everybody uses techniques, so everybody else uses the techniques. True shit, exactly. But yeah, 20. So what I find with the 20-day is it can tell me more short-term momentum. So let me find a stock that could be a great example. What are some videos I've done lately? I think ChargePoint is an example, actually. So this is the 50-day. But 20-day can be a little bit more short-term for me. So it's like, okay, I said 20 days is always a line in the sand for me in terms of what way the stock is headed in the short term. So whenever I see the 20 EMA, whenever I see the stock break below the 20 EMA, come back and test it. That's not a good example because that didn't happen there, but we'll just use it as a test. Come back and test it, or break above slightly and come back below. Then like, okay, there's more negative momentum ready. But as soon as it breaks above the 20-day, usually comes back and tests the 20-day. That's typically what happens with any breakout. It comes back and, you know, verifies the breakout. Whenever you see a verified breakout, that means there's going to be a lot of positive momentum, like typically a pretty big surgence when it can break out and retest. And so that usually tells me like, okay, we could potentially see a trend shift. And so I always I never use one indicator to figure out what something's happening. I always pair it with something else. So an example here, so we see it breaking above the 20-day, and then what do I see? It's not going to let me do that. Okay. What do I see here? I see it breaking above the 20-day, come back and back test. What am I seeing on the RSI? I'm seeing the RSI break above 50, which is another really important indicator. It's breaking above 50. It comes back and tests that 50 range and breaks out. So I'm seeing the same thing happen on the 20-day, and I'm seeing the same thing happen on RSI. You can use MACD. You can use other indicators people like to use, but MACD, we see a breakout right before we break above the 20-day, and then we see continuous positive momentum on MACD. So if I stack those three indicators on top of each other, it's showing me that there's extreme bullishness, and that's what we saw here. We saw extreme bullishness to the upside, going from $23 to $35 when all those indicators were showing the same thing. So that's why I use the 20-day, and then if it does break below the 20-day, this is not a good chart to use because the 50-day. Let's go back to TLNA. So say in this case, unless I have like so right here is a pretty big, there's these two big support areas, but in this case, if I see the stock break below the 20-day and hold below the 20-day, then in my mind, there's a pretty high probability it's coming back to the 50-day. And so what I typically look for is I try to find, multiple random occurrences. So here I see the 50-day and this really important support line be in the same place. So I know that if this breaks below the 20-day, you can even say this trend line too. If it breaks below the 20-day, there's a high probability it can go back to the 50-day. And if it breaks the 50-day, then like good luck, because that's a giant gap. So that's kind of how I use it. 20-day is just better. Like, are we seeing a change of direction or not? After me giving that 5-minute dissertation, it's telling me, are we headed higher or lower? Is momentum positive or negative? Okay. So we did some technical analysis on this guy. What was I looking at? Oh, institutions. So institutions, a lot selling on NTLA. So some profit taking is happening. Doesn't mean the stock's going to crash, but I do think that's interesting. But on the flip side, we do have some more recent buying. So the stock has come down from that $200 peak. And now we have a couple big buyers here. You know, one big buyer, they bought 120 million. These guys bought 60 million. So these guys bought a billion. So a lot of this green is more recent, which tells me that, okay, maybe people think this is a good price point. Maybe people sold a month ago or so, and those people are selling out, but people think that this price is still reasonable, and there's new people going in at this price point. So yeah, I don't know much about the stock, so we can look at NTLA. I don't know anything about them. They're gene stuff. 11 billion. Wow, they have a larger market cap than CRISPR. That's crazy. And they have baby revenue. So it just seems like this is a kind of similar to CRISPR. Like, it could be something amazing someday. But it could be a short-term play. I think just look at those price points we talked about in terms of support and resistance and see if it can hold up. If it can hold up, it can definitely move higher if it breaks above that double top. But double tops can sometimes be pretty negative for a stock. We saw a lot of double tops back in all the small cap names in February. We saw a lot of this back in February with the small cap. And we see what happened there. So double tops can sometimes be a pretty bearish indicator, unless we see another pattern form like a cup and handle or a reverse head and shoulders. But we do need a breakout for that. But if we don't get a breakout on that, then we have a double top and it could head lower. So yeah, let me add that to the list. And if you haven't followed us yet, I would appreciate the follow. Mr. Sun, support the stream with a follow or a sub. Those are appreciated. But let me add this to be the man for that quick follow. Okay, what did you say here? Let me get rid of these ones we've talked about. We have, properties. DTIL. Okay, DTIL. Okay, we added that to the list. Okay, now we have Casper, which I think just did earnings, if I remember. Are you still here, Charge? Let's see if I see your name, Charge. Let me know if you're still here, Charge. If you're not here, I'm probably not going to talk about it. I don't see your name in the chat, Charge. Let me know if you're here. Okay, I'll wait till Charge gets back because I think Charge asked about Casper. Edit. I'm going to skip edit for now, Babu, because I just talked about a bunch of your stocks. Jake, I will talk about Baba. I think Jake's still here. Yeah, Jake's still here. Okay. Oh, thanks for the follow, Archangel. And Archangel, if you're here, please put any stocks in the chat if you have questions about. Please let me know if you guys have those questions, because I also want to answer everyone's questions. And I can't answer them if you don't put it in the chat. And then real quick, as I transition and wait for some more stocks to be put in, this is my YouTube channel. So we have Stock Talk Game for everyone new here, where we do a stream every Saturday and Sunday. Sunday is all about technicals. And then Saturdays, the guy who keeps talking in Stock Talk Game chat, that's my free from work. Nice, King. Welcome, Baboon. Happy you're able to make it this week. I've gone a little bit longer because we have more people in the chat. But Saturdays we do more like stock market and talk about the economics, kind of like a podcast. But we do a live podcast on Twitch Saturday nights. Both are at 7 p.m. West Coast time is when they start. So if you're here, please come on Saturday nights because we have a blast there. You can ask people in the chat who come. It's pretty fun to talk about those big topics and play video games. So, and then I posted my YouTube channel for anybody who wants to follow that. It's like 3 to 5 videos a week or something like that. Okay, edit Babu. Baba, I mean, not Babu. Baba. Okay, so my first thing about Chinese stock. So I'm a little torn right now, to be honest. So I did buy into the tech ETF for China, but then I ended up selling it because of some more negative news that was coming out. So this is what I bought into. It moved up like 5% and then came back down. So I was like, I don't like that price action. And the kind of same thing's happening with BABA, where it came up to about that $200. Now it's moving back lower. So here's the things I'll say. Alibaba is an amazing company. They're not going anywhere. They're going to continue to be one of the main backbones for the Chinese economy, just like Amazon is, or Google, or any of that. It's going to be the same thing. The main issue that's happening in China, for all those who don't know, is there's the CCP, which is the Chinese Communist Party. They're doing pretty substantial regulations on more their tech sectors, but it really includes all the sectors of the economy for a multitude of reasons. I made a few videos on my YouTube channel. You can really watch those for the more in-depth of the why. But there's been a couple more negatives lately. What's up, 730? I'm going to get to edit in just a second. I have that on the list, I think, to cover next. So we're going to cover Alibaba, and then we'll get to edit. So stay tuned, and we'll talk about it soon. But Alibaba had some not so good news come out lately. They had two things. So one was there were some sexual assault charges that came out. So on top of everything else happening with Alibaba and the tech sector in China, like, that's obviously not a big positive for their stock. And then yesterday, I got to check my TD Ameritrade because I saw some other news come out, but I'm not seeing it listed here. What was it? Oh, and then the other thing that happened is Cathie Wood, she said they completely sold out of all their Chinese stocks, which obviously, retail traders, they freaking love Cathie Wood, and they follow her and everything she says. So there's like a couple, I would say, more negative potential momentum to the downside for Alibaba. So again, amazing company, amazing future. They're not going anywhere, but it doesn't mean the stock price isn't going lower. The other day I checked institutional buying, and somebody freaking sold out of an ass load of Alibaba. Cathie would never. So this is something, I've made a few videos on my YouTube channel about Alibaba. You can watch those, but the main thing I've been saying is I've been seeing a lot of selling for basically more selling than buying. So I always look at institutions to see if I'm seeing more green than red. If I'm seeing more green than red, then that's another little check mark of there's positive momentum. But with Alibaba, I'm still continuing to see a lot of red flags. Regulation. Cathie Wood and many others are saying they're selling out of their stake completely. Sexual assault charges, like IP. They have companies that are trying to go IPO. They're being stopped by the Chinese, the CCP, and so I think all this negativity is not necessarily over yet. And this big sell was not the most encouraging thing. I don't know who even sold. So Northern Trust. I think they're the people that bought into that NTLA. That's kind of ironic. Maybe they just took their money from Alibaba and put it into NTLA. That's pretty funny. So you have a few pretty big sells here. Obviously, we have some pretty big buys, but the sells are significantly outnumbering the buys right now, which is okay, if Alibaba was at a bottom, would 31 billion worth of institution be selling out? I don't know. So that's kind of like on the more like the fear side of things, and it doesn't really have to do with anything with technical. It doesn't really have to do with how amazing their company is, because they're an amazing company. But at some point, Alibaba is going to be a really awesome buy, and I'm doing it. I'm just not doing it yet, personally. So when we look at the charts, let me get to the 200-day, because I think that's where we couldn't break above. Wait a minute. Oh, maybe it's the moving average, not the EMA. Okay, because I think the 200 EMA was... Wait, now I'm getting confused. Maybe it was the weekly chart? Weekly chart, that's what it was. Okay, so on the weekly chart, this is something I've been keeping an eye on as kind of my line in the sand of if it was time to buy Alibaba. So I started going really big picture for Alibaba, because I think what's happening in China is really big picture. And when I think something is really big picture, I'm going to look at really big time frames. And so that's why I went past the daily, I went past the 4 hour, I went to the weekly charts. And even the monthly charts I've looked at a little bit too, to find potential floors for the stock if it does pull back further. But let's just stick to weekly. So the 200 day has been my line in the sand. I said, if Alibaba can get back above this 200 day, it doesn't even have to go up. As long as it can stay above it and go sideways, then I think a bottom could be potentially put in. But what happened was it broke below 200, tried to come back above it, as we can see on this little sideways candle, and then we got more negative momentum. So when you typically see these candles, they're like, there's no like candle part of it, it's just the wicks. That can be technically a pretty, like sometimes a really negative sign for a stock. So when we go back in the past, at the peak here, we had an indecision candle. What happened? Here we had an indecision candle, a red indecision candle. And then sometimes on the flip side, if we're, you know, if we're on a pullback and we see a small candle, quote here, you know, we went higher. These are somewhat indecision candles. We end up going higher. So these indecision candles can sometimes tell you a lot about direction. And so what we saw with that indecision was more downside. So I think this week's really important, because it's going to say, was that indecision more downside, or is it just 1 week of downside and it's going to break back above? So $196 is my line in the sand. And if it stays below that, I think we're headed lower. That's my personal opinion. So price targets I've been looking at to buy, I don't know how negative things are going to get in China, but this earnings week is looking weird. Yeah, there's a lot of random companies in earnings. There's a lot of retail or consumer staples, I think. It's going to be interesting work. Earnings week. But for Alibaba, these are the main price points that I've been looking for. So my first price point was around this 170. So we can basically see on the chart, there's so many candles. And so when we look at before Alibaba broke back above, after the COVID crash, it bounced off that 170. And so that 170 is going to be super, super important. If we can hold that 170, I'll consider buying, because we do have some more resistance pretty close, and I'll just be adding below that if it does go a little bit lower. But if we see this come down and just break lower pretty drastically, that's not a great sign in my opinion. And so I'll be looking for 170 as the first price. If we can't hold that, then 162, so 170 to 162. And then if that price range can't hold for some reason, then I don't know if it will get this bad. I doubt if Alibaba gets to $130, I'm not a financial advisor, but that's really cheap for how amazing this company is. They're like Amazon, but they're still growing a lot more than Amazon is. And they're like, I think their market cap is like a fifth or sixth the size of Amazon, and China's like, I don't know the number is, but they have like half the population just in China. So the world's population in Asia, and Alibaba's a big part of Asia. So so that's where my first price point is, that 170. That's what I'll be looking at. Let's see if we have a 100-day moving average. Because I thought there was a moving average on the weekly chart, but let me see. Maybe it was the 100-day. Okay, there are none. I think there was one trend line here. So yeah, this is a trend line I put in my video. So we're testing a really important trend line for Alibaba. So when we go back to basically when they IPO'd back in 2015, we have this really strong trend line on the monthly chart that has bounced off multiple times to continue the bull run. So if we break below this and hold below this, then we could see the long-term bull market end for Alibaba, which could lead to more downside. In the best case scenario, it just goes sideways for a while. But in the worst case scenario, we break this long-term uptrend and we head to the downside. So this is something I've been looking at on the more long-term time frame in terms of maybe a trend line that's going to be really important. So those are some things I'm looking at for Alibaba. Okay, 731, you still here? Stick around. If you are, I'll get to edit. I believe that's what you asked about. And that is on the list. The stocks we're going to cover. Okay, I don't know about anything about edit, so I need to do a little bit of education. $730, you still here? 730. Nice. And if anybody's in the chat and you haven't subbed or followed the stream yet, please do. We love the support. I'm here just for funsies and to hang out with you guys and hopefully help you make some good investment ideas. So follows or subscriptions to the Twitch is much appreciated. Okay. Edit, another genome company. Okay. So Moderna might use them in a vaccine development. Interesting. Okay. That's a pretty decent hype. I'm assuming that's why they moved here from 40 all the way to 60. I mean, the financial side of these companies, it's like there's no point in paying attention to them because they're, you know, market cap wise, it doesn't even make sense. Data release is coming in the next month or so. The data release for the work with Moderna or for one of their genetic drugs they're working on. Here we go. Thanks for the follow 7. Interesting. That's a very interesting article. Will they buy them? Just their own study. Gotcha. Oh, Moderna's trying to get into gene editing. Interesting. Another way to hype up the Moderna stock. Smart on their part. Company has growing cash stockpile, but they need to spend it. Interesting. I mean, if Moderna is using these fools, why not just buy them? That makes sense. I'm making a water refill, everyone. Takes a lot of talking power that my throat gets tired very easily. No jokes. This is a very interesting concept. This would be a really interesting article. Everyone should read this. Let me put it in here. Will Moderna buy Edit? I mean, if they're making a partnership, I think Moderna has a ass load of cash because I know they did a lot of share offerings. Their market cap is so stupid. 5 billion. I think they have more than 5 billion in cash. I think it's even larger than that. But that's an interesting article about them maybe being bought out. Okay, the boost was upgraded. So somebody upgraded the stock. Yeah, analysts, I don't ever really take that serious. Oh, you know what? I think I remember hearing about this stock now. I think I remember hearing about a company that was trying to solve issues with blindness. I think I remember this now. That's a big deal. Gene editing. Let's see what it says here. I mean, this is a thing. Yeah, ARK owns every gene company basically, and that's probably why their stock has moved, because they own it. Honestly, I mean, here's what I'd say when it comes to valuation. I don't have any thoughts here because the company's valuation is so crazy based on their revenue. But as you said, gene editing, it's the big thing right now. It has a lot of potential. We do see some selling happening right now. Let's see if this is recent selling or earlier. We have 140, so someone bought a lot recently. I mean, we have a lot of buying and selling. That can be a positive thing. That means there's people who've bought a long time ago. ARK owns their soul. Baboon with the jokes. This is the time for the octopus emoji. Yeah, it's probably people selling out who bought really low, and the new people who still believe in this company. As we can see, $114 million investment. That's no small feat. When I look at stocks and institutions buying, I like to see big purchases. So seeing 60 million, 20 million, 100 million, 15 million. You know, these are not small investments. 441 million, 150. Like, these are big investments. So first, people believe in this for some reason. So there's I would say, honestly, a lot of positivity when it comes to institutions. It's very interesting. Add the chart to see what's going on. Let's go to the daily. Okay, so where'd you buy in? 720 or 730? Sorry, I pronounced your name wrong. Ooh, I got the burps. Excuse me. Let me know where you bought in, but I'll just do some charting while I wait for you to respond. Bought in the 50s. Oh, you got some price. I bought in at the 50s, but then rebound. Gotcha, rebound in 60s. Okay, so your average is somewhere 50 to 60 range. Gotcha. Okay, so the charts, I would say macro perspective, the charts are looking really healthy. I don't think there's anything to be concerned about. Short-term wise, I would say it's like a double-edged sword, because one is when these stocks get hyped, they move really drastically, and especially with all the hype around Moderna using them can propel the technicals to be whack on this. So I would say technically it's a little hard to read, because news like that can be really substantial of people pricing in future potential value of the stock, which is sometimes hard to analyze on a technical basis. But big picture, they're looking really healthy. Short term, they are looking a little overbought. So as I've said in the past when we were covering Alibaba, or what were we covering? I don't know if you're here, we were talking about the 20-day EMA. So the 20 EMA is really important, one, to find momentum and direction. And the second thing is when the 20 EMA is a little far away from the current price. So we see the 20 EMA pretty far away from the price. 20 EMA is at 52. And we have RSI up at like 65 or 75. And so being far away from the 20-day EMA and having a really high technically overbought reading makes me think that a pullback needs to happen a little bit. It could be a little bit, it could be a lot. We'll put some price targets to figure out where that could be. But the first range, I would say that there's two ranges it really needs to hold. So in the best case scenario, this stock's going to hold this breakout at 60. And this breakout's really important because it tried back here in June and failed, and now it's broken above. So that's really important. This is Edit, so the company that potentially is going to work with Moderna. So this breakout is really, really important, and we really want this to hold it. You know, this could break below a little bit just to tease you and go back above, but this 60 price point is super, super important. So best case scenario is that this stock comes back here, back tests. So something I always like to see for stocks is when they break out of a really important resistance line, they break above, they come back and test, hold it, and that typically shows more positive momentum. There's like a lot going on in this chart, so that's one thing I'm going to want to look for. I would really like it to come back here and chill out here for a little bit, and the main reason I would like that to happen is for this 20-day to catch up. So for the 20-day to slowly catch up and move up pretty drastically, because eventually I want this stock to come back and test the 20-day. When stocks are going to the downside and it keeps the downside, what you see is it comes down, comes to the 20-day, comes down, comes to the 20-day, comes down, comes to the 20-day, and that's showing a really strong negative momentum. Reverse, we want to see really positive movement for a stock where it breaks above the 20-day, comes back to the 20-day, goes up, comes back to the 20-day, kind of that price action. And so because we saw this so violently break away from the 20-day and we're seeing overbought readings, it gets me a little worried. So in the best case, it holds 60 and the 20-day catches up to the price and then eventually tests it. The worst case scenario, or not the worst case, but the second best case scenario, the second best scenario is that it comes back to 50, this breakout around, I'll just call it 55 to 53. And what would happen there is if it comes back, bounces off that support, when it bounces off the support, it also bounces off the 20 EMA, and that's really, really positive momentum for the more intermediate to long term. Those are the two scenarios I would be looking for. On a negative front, we did see it break above this really important resistance and go directly to the next resistance and fail, which is this price. This is the other really important breakout point, because when we look at it, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 candles that tried to either use it as support or resistance. And so now that's extreme resistance. And so we really need it to break above there. So that it violently went up, failed to break out above there and came back. Now we need it to hold this range. If it holds that range, bounce off the 20-day, then it could come back up and break above this 70. If it breaks above the 70, then we could definitely see some more violent price action moving forward. So those are, I would say, 3 or 4 scenarios to look out for more bullish momentum for this stock. I would say line in the sand, if we're going to see more negativity for this stock, is if it does break below this 60 and it goes back down to this kind of 54 range. If it breaks below the 20-day and that support range and it comes back up and fails to break back above, we're most likely in another downtrend. So that would be the worst case scenario. So that's something to keep an eye on. Okay. Now that we got there, any questions? I know I covered a lot there, a lot of technicals there, 730. But I would say my instinct, based on all my experience, let me know if you have more questions, is that it comes back somewhere in this range and moves higher. Unless we get a market pullback overall, that's probably what's going to happen in the near term, unless we see all the indexes flush down a 5 to 10%. But if that doesn't happen, there's so much hype around Moderna, and if this stock is attached to that hype and potentially being used, and or the news going around they might be bought out by them, if it holds this range and holds a 20-day, this stock can definitely go back up here. It could definitely head back to the highs. So, yes, I will add that to the list. Bubble. Yeah, shout out to all you guys. Y'all are MVPs. Last couple weeks was a little slow, so thanks for hopping and making Sunday night fun. I think I've even have some stocks to keep an eye on now, so it's pretty exciting. Okay, we've covered cat. No, we didn't cover that yet. Who was asking about that? Can't remember now. It was Charge, I think. Charge, you hear about Casper? I think you were asking about Casper. Did we cover DTIL? I don't think so. And then we have Phillips. While I'm adding stocks to the list, anybody in the chat, anybody have any other stocks they want me to, any other stocks they want me to keep an eye on? Bubba? Can do. Yep, we are wishing all you green days. Hope we all make money in the market. That's the point of this community. And if you're in the chat, like U730, we also have a Discord that Moobot just put in the chat. So this is a community we're growing. You know, I don't know how many bots are in there because some people never talk. But we have like 30 to 40 people now, I think, in there, which is pretty exciting. Let me see where we're at in the count. We are at... We're at 50 people. Round of applause, everybody. Round of applause for yourself for joining the community and helping it grow. We have 50 people in our Discord. That's exciting. So join that too, whoever's in the chat. We're growing that group, which is awesome. Yes, Jake, you're one of the first people, so you get an extra clap. Okie dokie. Anybody else in the chat? Any more stocks? If not, I'm going to move forward with what's here. Okay, DLIT. I don't remember who asked for this. If you asked for this, are you still in the chat? It was Sun. Sun, you still here? Woo! Okay. DLIT. Well, let me go back to your message. I think I saw it in the chat. You were asking, okay, can you check on DLT? The ER was awesome. Gained 12%. And right after short sell attack, it's bring it down 14%. Yeah, that chart looks nasty. Hitting 50 SMA and think going bounce back as it's done on... I don't get the last part of your question, but let's take a peek at it. Okay, let's look at the earnings because I'm curious. DTLA, I think is what it was called. Oh, DLI. Wait, DTIL. There we go. Y'all are playing the bios right now. Bios are a little hot right now. Okay, nothing very important on institutions. Nothing helpful there. Okay, so you said they smashed earnings or something. Oh yeah, they super smashed earnings. Lordy McLordy. 6,000%. Why'd they smash earnings so much? Do you know? See if we can find out in this article. 21 million after reporting a loss the same year earlier on a share per basis. Profits. Oh yeah, partnership. Gotcha. I mean, that's a big deal. That's a big company. Are they gonna have more? I don't know if it's like royalties or something. I'm assuming they have some royalty partnership. Are they gonna keep making royalties on the partnership or something moving forward? Because I think that's important financially if we're thinking about the future. Because right now it's like, okay, they had this big jump in revenue, but what does Q3 and Q4 look like? Or Q1 2022? Is that partnership continuing? Yes. Ford Pipeline announced on September 9th. Okay, so they're going to keep working with them. Okay, that's positive momentum. And what's nice about these royalty deals, I'm assuming is what they're getting, is it's just straight cash. Oh, Catalyst on September. Gotcha. About their drug. Gotcha. It's nice that they got some net income there. They can start growing their cash on hand because these companies always need a lot of cash on hand. Biotechs always need a lot of cash. Okay. Partnership is good. Let's just look at the technicals because that can honestly tell us a lot about the stock. So they had a short report, like you said. Let's look at short interest actually. See where that's at. I'm bringing up short interest real quick.